gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode where we sat down with psychotherapist Carol Gillen. Today, we are going to do a 5-minute clinic on how to make sure you are living intentional.
So one of the ways to understand something is to start by trying to understand the opposite. So intentional living, Kevin and I just talked a little bit in the preamble about what that means. It means living intentionally. Okay, go figure. But what does that mean? It means having conscious reasons why you're doing what you're doing. So what is the opposite of intentional living? I would argue that the opposite of intentional living would be autopilot. Going through your day, not really thinking about the actions you're taking and not taking, not really consciously making your choices, making your decisions. And so a good example of this is when you get in the car, you put on your seatbelt automatically. That's a good unconscious habit. And that's an unintentional thing that was at one point intentional. So the key here on this episode is to understand, like, where am I living intentionally and where am I running these old patterns, these old habits, these old paradigms that maybe are no longer serving me.
Yeah, the reason that, so when we're always trying to figure out what we're going to do for episodes, we try to choose from our experiences or maybe the experiences of clients or something that we're going through, something that we're learning. I was on a coaching call with my clients and I said, hey, when you wake up in the morning, how do you know what to do? And she said, like, what do you mean? And I said, how do you decide what are the important things to do throughout the day? And she said, I don't know. It kind of just depends on what I feel like I should be doing that day. And I said, okay, it shouldn't be that, because some days you're going to feel like you shouldn't be doing anything.
Right.
Some days you might feel like today's a good day to go to the beach, but it's not about what you feel like you should be doing. It's about what you know you should be doing so you can feel a certain way eventually. That's kind of how it should be set up. And that's why we rely so much on our systems. That's why it's always about moving the needle in some way, shape, or form. I told you in the preamble, I was a guest speaker on a summit last night. And when I said, like, I have 12 to 15 things that I have to do every single day, I get to do. I don't have to do them. I get to.
Right.
There was a bunch of, like, people blowing up the chat saying, like, show us what that is. Like, what do you mean? And then I showed them my system of success and said, like, if you're a podcaster, one of the kids was a podcaster, every day you should be posting something about your podcast. Every single day. I don't care that it's Saturday. I don't care that it's Sunday.
Right.
I don't care. One of my other clients, we were talking about creating her system of success. And I said, this is your job. Like, you're living intentionally by understanding that this is now your job. Part of your job is marketing. Part of marketing is your social media. I don't care that it's Thursday and it's drinks with the girls. That's fine. Have a blast. But make sure you do the things that you're supposed to be doing before you go. Because that's where I'm not talking about career design. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about lifestyle design. Living the most intentional version of yourself possible that's in direct congruence with your goals. Like, that's what this is all about.
That is living intentionally. And the thing that's interesting is how many of your decisions on it, you posted this recently. You said if you actually wrote out every single thing you spend time on in a day and how much time you're spending on it, you will be blown away.
Yeah.
And we did that time audit a while back. I forget what episode, but we figured out that 158 of our 168 hours per week were taken for certain intentional things. And we were trying to figure out how to squeeze out more time, how to do more in less time. So I'm going to tell a quick story here about a client. I called up a client and we were talking about her system of success. And I asked her, like, how's it going? And she was kind of like off and she's like, not really well. I don't feel that motivated, blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying, okay, well, what did you do today? Let's start there. Let's figure out where you are now. And she's like, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And I was like, okay, interesting. And then eventually she said, well, I basically asked her, I said, well, what were you doing right before this call? Because at this point I'm trying to help her and I can tell that she feels off because I know this person really well. And it's kind of my job as a coach to keep you in the lines, to keep you working towards your goals, to keep you growing. It's not my job to be easy on you. It's my job to keep you accountable. And this person has given me permission in advance to do that. So she had said I was playing billiards on my phone. And I said, thank you for being honest with me. But honestly, I don't think that's a good use of your time. Please tell me that at least you were playing billiards with somebody who you care about, who you're friends with, someone in your family, your boyfriend, whoever. She said no. And I said to this person, I said, you're extremely love and connection driven. We know that. We've studied that. We've figured that out. And you're playing billiards on your phone with a complete stranger because you were bored. I said, did you think about that before you did it? Because from my perspective, it seems like that's not a great use of your time. Would you agree? And she said, yes, absolutely. So we're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of falling down the rabbit hole, watching some movie or, some Netflix show or whatever, like being unintentional with our time. If you look at really successful people who have a well-designed life, you've heard me say this a million times, Kev, if you see success, yesterday you were on a summit. That success in public is the result of 10,000 hours in private of intentional living.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And so they're only seeing that one moment of you on the summit, like with this incredible ability to speak and influence and discuss your systems. But what they're not seeing is you alone every day at 5:30 a.m. doing your system.
Right.
So that's what intentional living is about. Is if you want the shiny stuff, you've got to design your life around the stuff that gets the shiny stuff to come your way.
Yeah. And I just think that this is like, it's like that with anything. Like, how many times have you gone to the gym with somebody who's just there to check the box?
Oh man, brutal.
That's not being intentional.
Brutal.
It is.
I know.
But imagine the lack of results that they're getting in the gym, and then carry that over to any avenue in life.
Right.
Like, if you like reading, awesome. But could you be even more intentional with your reading? Could you read something that might help you with a current bottleneck? Right? Like, you can really hone in and be unreasonably intentional when it comes to, and I mean unreasonably in the best way.
Right.
When it comes to like your habits, when it comes to where you're spending your time, your energy, your money, it's a completely different life when you start to realize that the more intentional you live, the more you're pointed in the right direction, and the more you're going to achieve over the consistent span of things.
And then it's a feedback loop too, because when you're more intentional, now you actually have something to adjust.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were just winging it and got great results, you don't know what to change. You don't know what to shift. And so that's a perfect example too. If you love reading books, another client recently, I said, they said they wanted to do more readings. They were in our mastermind. And I said, what book are you reading? And she's like, oh, you're going to be so upset. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's all good. And she was reading Harry Potter. I said, there's nothing wrong with reading Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. I've read all the books. I've watched all the movies tons of times. So that is what it is. But I was intentional about when I did it for the most part. Like if I want R&R and I want to relax, I'll literally throw a Harry Potter movie in the background while I'm working. That's all intentional. The question becomes, and I challenge all of our listeners on this episode, how many of your daily choices are consciously made? When you wake up in the morning, how many of your actions from 0 to 100% are actually a conscious choice? That's why I love a system of success, because you look at it and you go, okay, I'm going to do that, that, and that.
Yeah.
So it forces you to be conscious. It's a trick.
I would challenge the listeners to do what my post was the other day. Like, write down everything you do throughout the day, and then reflect, because this is what's going to happen. You'll look at the clock. It'll be 12:44, which it is right now. You'll go on Instagram to post, and you'll be on Instagram until 1:45. You'll look back and say, I was on Instagram for an hour.
Right.
That's 1/8 of your workday if you're working an 8-hour day.
Right.
Like, that's a lot.
Right. What could I have done?
Exactly. That's a big number. And then like, okay, I want to watch one episode of Parks and Rec. That's 23 minutes. Okay, well, if you are trying to watch one and you go to 3, that's an hour and 9 minutes. Like, right. That's a completely different thing. So
been there.
Of course. I just think I want to challenge you guys to be, maybe right now you don't know how intentional or unintentional you're being, but doing a time audit will bring the first thing, awareness. It'll bring awareness to the problem, and then you can make the shifts accordingly and change what you need to, like Alan said. But the first step is figuring out where you're actually being intentional and where you're living by accident.
10-second blip.
10-second blip. Jeez. Time is the most valuable commodity. It is the one thing that you cannot get back.
Fire. My 10-second blip. If you, I'll just say this, you are not going to stumble upon a magnificent future by accident. You have to be intentional with your day-to-day, so your decade is great.
Cool. Speaking of being intentional, if you are looking to be intentional and become the best version of yourself, I have a couple of online training programs. The link will be in the show notes of this episode, also with the discount code for you guys. One is on how to start your own podcast from zero to podcast. The other one is how I went from suicidal to the man I am today, and everything that I learned along the journey. That is the Hyper Conscious Mindset program.
Folks, I have realized in a very big way recently that I'm doing no one any favors by being super easy on them, especially my clients. So if you want to get around people with more standards, we have 2 ways you can do that, technically 3. Both Kevin and I have coaching. I have actually 1 slot available. I don't know how many you've got left, but we are going to help you stay accountable, stay intentional, get clear on what you really want, design a system specifically to that, and then hold you accountable to taking consistent action in that direction. That's coaching. But if you're not ready for coaching and you do want to dip your toe into living more intentionally, we have a mastermind every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is growing. It is awesome. And it's getting better and better every week.
We literally had somebody from the mastermind message us after and say, guys, that was something unbelievably impactful and important. I literally left my partner of 2.5 years because I realized very quickly that this person was not in my growth bucket. Wasn't really in any of the buckets. Didn't really want to do any of the things I was doing and kind of held me back. Like the fact that we were able to do what we love and help somebody to that deep level, that's why we're doing this. And this was definitely the best mastermind we've had yet. We definitely have hammered out the wrinkles, and it's going to continue to get better because now we're taking a fundamental. So we did the 5 buckets. We're going to do the drive to 5. We'll probably do 5 ways to build confidence. We'll do stuff about sales. Like we're going all in on this mastermind because we know how valuable it is.
It was unbelievable to see someone change their life. That one choice, that intentional choice to leave a 2.5-year relationship, I got to be honest, one of the best choices I ever made was leaving a relationship that wasn't right for me. We might have just catalyzed something that person that can change everything. Everything. So,
all right. Well, speaking of changing everything, we're going to change ourselves and get out of here. We actually have a guest episode that we're going to record here in 12 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. My challenge to you is to stay as intentional as you can because that is going to change the game for you. We hope you enjoyed, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.